Welcome to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mr. Craven. Alright guys, so here it is. My stamina Dragonknight build. For the longest time, this poor kitty was just pack mule a majority of my gear between all my tunes, but after many requests for stamina Dragonknight build, I decided to go ahead, clear him out a little bit, so I could go ahead and deliver a build for you guys. This is a really nice build. It's pretty easy to use and it deals a tremendous amount of damage. I'm not going to leave you disappointed. So today I'm going to bring you Asunder. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the character sheet. Now, disclaimer, I do not have all my passives unlocked, let alone my Undaunted, so keep that in mind. You're going to see max magic at 9,550. You're going to see max health at 19,261. Max stamina is at 32,404. And stamina recovery is at 1,260. Keep in mind, all these values with the max stats will increase once my Undaunted's unlocked, because I'll get that Undaunted passive of 4%, because this is a 6-1 configuration, 6 medium, 1 heavy. My weapon crit on my bow side is 61.5. As you can see, I am a Khajiit. I am not a red guard. Very important with this build. I did specifically wanted Khajiit because I'm going to get that 10% towards the critical passive. That was a necessity for this build. I will explain why. Okay, now on the two-hand side, so this is a bow two-hand build. You're going to go ahead and see that max magic is 9,550, max health 19,261, max stamina is 32,404, weapon damage 2,998 before any buffs. Weapon crit is now on this side 56.5. Now if I was a red guard, that would drop even lower. Hence why I wanted the Khajiit. To the left, you're going to go ahead and see I have health at 8, stamina at 56. I'm running the Warrior Mundus, and we also are running max health, max stamina. Okay, but if you need to regen, you want to go with the dubious for certain scenarios, you can do that. All right, getting into the gear. We're going to be running the Sunder Flame set, the Two Fangs set, along with the Maul of Inferno. Let's go down piece by piece, and I will explain what's going on. On the bow side, you're going to see, on the maul side, you see that I have 4 pieces of Sunder Flame. With this build, you will not, and I will repeat, will not use a Master, Maelstrom, or even Asylum weapon. Why? Because you're using a bow two-hand build. We're going to use the Sunder Flame set. Why are we going to use the Sunder Flame? Now, when I go to the bow, you'll see that I have 5 pieces of the Sunder Flame. Why I'm picking the Sunder Flame is simple. Max stamina, weapon damage, crit. Okay, so I have 1 crit on here. Keep in mind I'm a Khajiit. When I deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, I deal an additional 940 flame damage, and I reduce the enemy's physical resistance by 3,400 for 8 seconds. This is a deduction, so it really comes in handy with this build, because I don't need penetration in my champion points, I don't need the lover, I don't need sharpen with this build. I'm getting it from the Two Fang, and I'm getting it from the Sunder Flame, and it's going to add that deduction for my party members. It's a heavy attack build. I want to utilize this set to its full potential. You're also going to see the Maul of the Two Fang Snake. Now, on the bow side, you're going to see I only have 4. But when I switch out, now you see that I have 5. And that is exactly why you don't want to use a Maelstrom, Master, or Asylum weapon. Because basically, this set is going to carry over to your bow side. But you can't afford to drop the Sunder Flame set, because that's the deduction. This is the increase. So we have a plus, we have a minus, to add up our total penetrating values. So, Two Fang Snake. Kind of iffy about this set between builds, but for the DK it works out really nice, especially with this build, because the Sunder Flame gives me crit, but also so does this set. So I get weapon damage, I get max stam, I get an extra crit value, and then when I deal damage with the physical damage, my physical penetration is increased by 850 for 3 seconds, stacking up 5 times. Okay, so basically I'm using the dots to apply the penetrating value. Okay, plain and simple. We're going to use the Maul of Inferno. Why are we going to use the Maul of Inferno? Very simple, because this is a weave build. We're going to use light and heavy attacks a lot in this build. This procs a lot more frequently with this build. Plus, it's going to give me a health boost, which I'm going to need with this build because I have all stamina. And then on top of it, I have a 10% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedrith for 15 seconds. Its basic attacks are dealing 5,052 flame damage. This can happen every 15 seconds. So once it drops, I keep the weaves up, it procs again. So on and so forth. So, and keep in mind, the passives towards combustion does work also for this monster set on the DK. It's beautiful. Okay, so I got this with medium, infused, max stamina, ideal. Jacket of the Two-Fanged Snake, infused, max stamina, ideal. Maul of the Infernal Pauldrons, heavy, health, divine, ideal. Belt of the Two-Fanged Snake, divine, max stamina, ideal. Bracers of the Two-Fanged Snake, divine, ideal. Sunder Flame Guards, infused, max stamina, ideal. Boots of the Two-Fanged Snake, stamina, divine, ideal. Sunder Flame Necklace, weapon damage, ideal. Sunder Flame Ring, recovery, ideal. Sunder Flame Ring, recovery, ideal. Now let's go ahead and get into the skills, and I'll explain what's going on. Now on the bow side, we're going to use Molten Armaments instead of the other morph. This is very, very important. You do not want to take the other one, even though it gives you major brutality. Why do you want to take the Molten Armaments over the other one? Very simple. This does give you major sorcery, but that's not why you want it. You want it because it's going to increase the damage of your fully charged heavy attacks by 40%. Remember, we're dealing heavy attacks with this build. So we want to capitalize on that, and this is where it's going to go ahead and benefit us the most throughout our rotation. Also keep in mind, in the passive, now once again, I got to unlock it, we're going to get that minor brutality right here with the Mountain Blessing. So anytime we activate it, we're going to get that minor brutality. Use the potion, get the major brutality. Those are going to stack. That's going to increase our damage. All right, and keep in mind, it's also going to activate the Helping Hands. That's why we can afford to have a little bit lower on the regen, because every time we cast this, we're going to increase our stamina recovery. Okay? Also, we're going to be, no surprise, Poison Injector. Right? Simple. We're going to use the Arrow Barrage. We're going to use Rearming Trap. I got to get this morph, but it will be the Rearming Trap. Here's the big deal that I've been testing. I'm using Camouflage Hunter. A lot of people will want to throw Caltrops on. Do not do that. The reason being, you lose 3% in the Undaunted passive, right? So currently, on both ends, I get 6%. That increases the effect of all of my abilities as well as my heavy attacks. If I end up putting like something like Caltrops on here, I lose almost 3,000 on a heavy attack on a crit. And then I'm losing like 1,200 on all of my base damage abilities. Completely not worth dropping 3% on this. Not whatsoever. Okay? Now, the ultimate of choice on the bow side. You're going to want to think to yourself, I want the bow, I want the ballista. As a DK, no, you do not. Remember, we're using bow two-hander, right? We want the Standard of Might as our primary ultimate towards finishing phase. The reason being, we're going to use Executioner. What this is going to go ahead and do for us, it's going to increase the damage of our finisher by 15% as well as our heavy attacks. Keep in mind, in two-handed passive, we're going to use the follow-up passive. So we're going to do a heavy attack, and then we're going to go ahead with the Executioner. Because when we do follow-up, that's going to increase the damage of our execution by 10%. Add the Standard of Might, that's 15. That's 25% added to our execution phase. That is not worth passing up. You want the Standard of Might. Okay, two-hand. Without a doubt, you know, this is going to be expected. Venomous Claws. We're going to use Brawler for our AoE on our mobs. So we're going to do a light attack, Brawl. Remember also in the passives for the two-hander, we're also going to be able to do Light and heavy attacks are going to damage 3 other nearby targets for 65% of the damage inflicted to the primary. Add this with Brawler, we're going to get that shield, and we're going to go ahead and do an AoE effect. We're getting double AoE effects, stacked with the Noxious Breath, and, of course, our Arrow Barrage. Now, Noxious Breath, very simple. It's going to go ahead and do an AoE effect. It's going to go ahead and apply a dot, and it's going to apply Major Fracture, reducing their physical resistance. Once again, I've covered all the penetrating values. The only difference of it is in a trial, you don't want them all because it's giving you 3,640 penetration, 20% off the top of 18.2. So in a trial situation, you want a two-handed sword. But in a vet dungeon, because you have 4-man, you don't have all those deduction values like Alkosh and Night Mothers, you're good with them all. All right? Executioner, I covered this. This is our finisher. Kind of a nice aspect, especially with this build. Once again, I got 6% on this bar. I got the rearming trap in the other one, but we're going to have Dawnbreaker, and we're going to be morphing this to the Flawless Dawnbreaker so we get that extra passive towards increased weapon damage. All right? Plain and simple. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the champion points. Okay, starting off in the Apprentice. Now keep in mind, I'm a stamina build, but I do have some magical damage occurring. So we're going to go ahead between the Sunder Flame and the Maw of Inferno. We're going to put Elemental Expert at 6.17. Okay, coming over to the Astronaut, we want to make sure we at least have 75 points, but I got 81 because I have 21.15 in Physical Weapon Expert. Keep in mind to get a 40% increase to my weapon damage with my ability for the activation of the skill on top of the 21.5. Also, Mastered Arms, 17.17. Even though we deal with a lot of dots, our execution is not a dot. That's direct damage, so we want to take advantage of Mastered Arms at 17.17. Also, Thaumaturge is at 14.14. Precise Strikes is at 12.08. Mighty is at 13.01. Now, there is some things here. I still have to do some PvP. So, Resistance I just have currently. But I would go ahead and scale Ironclad up to about 14%. Hardy and Elemental Defenders good at 10.15. You could scale this up to about a 12% thick skin. And Quick Recovery is 9.09. All right. Coming over to the Tower, we have 9.04 in Break Free, 9.17 in Sprinter. Tenacity's at 13.01. Mooncap's at 14. Healthy's at 6.17. Shadow Ward. Now keep in mind, as a Dragonknight, we do have the passive that increases how much damage we can block, but we still want to take advantage of Shadow Ward, so we're going at 7.40. Tumbling's at 8.23, and that is how the champion points are allocated. And once again, guys, the weapons are glyphed, are transmuted to Nirnhorn. So they are both Nirnhorn weapons. This one is got the poison enchantment. This one has the increase. Like I said, in a 4-man vet, Maul's going to be good, but in a trial, you're going to want a two-handed sword because you'll have an over-penetrating value with other deductions like Night Mothers and Alkosh. So you want to go ahead and take that sword. But in a 4-man, you're better off with the Maul. All right? So there it is. There's the build. I really love it. Do not, if you're going to go with this build and you're going to go Red Guard, you're going to need to take the Thief because your critical value isn't going to be high enough. The Khajiit covers that. That's why I was able to take the Warrior with this build. Plain and simple. All right? So that's why I went with the Khajiit. But if you have Red Guard and you want to stay with the Red Guard, that's fine. You're not going to take the Warrior. You'll take the Thief. But if you have the Khajiit, you take the Warrior. That covers it. All right. If anybody has any questions or comments, please post below. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really hope you like this build. I love this build. It's really nice, deals a lot of damage, and it's very simple to use. Just a heavy attack rotation, lay down your dots, plain and simple. It works out really nice. All right, so like I said, and I'll show you guys something really quick. Okay, so basically all I have to do is, like, say I add the dots. Okay, that's going to stack up. You'll see all 5 stack. See it? Once I hit my molten armament, okay, You'll see it. I'm just playing around. Once again, that's going to be applied. Alright, so the dots are going to keep the 2-fang carried over. Alright, so that penetration is going to carry over. As long as you keep the dots applied with the venomous and the noxious breath. Alright, so when you come over here, it doesn't drop. Alright, that's why you have it set up this way. And then when you come over here, you get that extra towards the penetration. Of the deduction. Alright, plain and simple. It works out really nice. I'm really loving this build. I hope a lot of you guys like it too. A lot of people overlook the Sunder Flame set. This is a set that really benefits the DK tremendously. So I hope that helps. But like I said, if you have any questions, comments, post below. I want to thank everybody for watching. And once again and always, thank you. And have a nice day.